Cincinnati Bengals weekly show. I'm your host, Mike Goodpaster. Right now, I'd like to welcome in my co-host, Joe Kelly. Joe, we're 2-1, headed for 3-1, possibly.
2-1, baby. It was a great game. We were competitive, but Mike, it was. We talked last week. It was a game that we should have won, based on the players that they didn't have available for the game. And throughout the game, they had some guys get hurt. We had some guys get hurt as well. But just to go, it's still Pittsburgh. To go on the road into Pittsburgh and win the way we won, I think that's going to bode well for our confidence. Going into not only tonight's game but the rest of the season.
Yeah, the thing that stuck out to me was the defense. The defense dominated the Pittsburgh Steelers, and Logan Wilson looks like the real deal, Joe.
We thought he was something special last year. That was a kid, and we talked about a linebacker. We talked about him last year, and I can see last year he was doing a lot of thinking, and that's just getting acclimated to the NFL, getting acclimated to the speed, getting acclimated to the new defense, and now I think he looks more comfortable, and he looks like he can just go in there and you can make plays when you're not thinking as much. You're able to react. You're able to adjust to their adjustments. You're able to make calls that you're supposed to make. A lot of times you're in the right place at the right time. And he's been there, and he's been making some plays. He's one of the sparks on our defensive side.
Yeah, and when we look at the offensive line, they played good. I don't know if that's a byproduct of the Bengals' offensive line being that good or with the Steelers having injuries and their front four is not that good. But it was nice to see Joe Burrow not beat up this time.
Oh man, that was amazing just to see. I don't know if I don't think they didn't get a sack. They got a couple pressures, but of course, missing Watt. Watt is one of the best outside rush linebackers in the league. So that definitely played into that. But overall, you looked at our scheme. There was a couple times where the rookie 79 didn't adjust. They were making some simple defensive games, and you always check inside out. And you could see that the young guy was thinking, and a couple offensive pass plays got away from him. But I think with his experience, he keeps playing. He's going to get better. But it's overall, this thing is a confidence thing, and knowing that they're decent, but now going in first week, we go to overtime, get a big win, kind of fall on our face in Chicago, but still fighting and put ourselves in a position to win. Last week going into Pittsburgh, it bodes well for our confidence. We have a young team, and these guys can elevate mentally, playing on another level when you see yourselves in games, and you see how you can go into a hostile environment like Pittsburgh. No matter what kind of team they have, it's still Pittsburgh. And to go in that hostile environment and play the way they played was outstanding.
Yeah, Jamar Chase again, another monster game, 2 touchdown passes this time. I still wonder why this ball is not thrown deep more, especially against Pittsburgh, where Pittsburgh didn't have Minka Fitzpatrick in the defensive backfield,
Yeah.
and their pass rush was not really threatening Burrow. I still would like to see this team open it up a little bit more on offense.
Oh yeah, absolutely. He has begun to have people take notice. He's been able to turn this thing around. We talked about going into the season or preseason. He was dropping passes in practice. He was dropping passes in the game. And this thing is a confidence thing. We've always said that he definitely had the talent. He definitely has the ability and the capability to do what he's doing. And it bodes well for his confidence. It bodes well for Joe to be able to throw that ball, and he had to go get it. Joe put it in a perfect position. Had he underthrown it a little bit, even if it was perfect, Joe threw it out, maybe 4 or 5 yards where Chase, he was able to separate himself from that DB. So it was a perfect pass, but it was even a greater catch because the one touchdown, he caught the back end of that ball. So that was a fantastic catch, and glad to see that he's starting, and hopefully he can continue with this momentum and be the player that the Bengals hoped he would be, being the fifth player picked.
All right, so we look at this game tonight. We've got Joe Burrow versus Trevor Lawrence. We know how that worked out in college. It was good for Burrow.
Mhm.
When we look at this game, the Jacksonville Jaguars, they have issues. Urban Meyer's the head coach. I still think that's a bad hire. I think Trevor Lawrence is overrated. But when we look at this, I think the thing that stood out to me last week was Jacksonville finally rolled out a run-heavy approach. They
Yeah.
fed second-year undrafted star James Robinson often last week against a weak Cardinals run defense. I think this game comes down to this. If the Bengals stop the run, I don't think Trevor Lawrence is good enough to beat them, even without, a woozy and our safety is named
Jesse
slipping.
Bates.
Yeah, Jesse Bates, who
Yeah.
Jesse Bates played phenomenal last week. He does every
Mhm.
week. I think Jesse Bates might be the best safety in football. But even with those two guys not there, I think if the Bengals can control the Jacksonville run game with James Robinson, I think the Bengals will win this game.
No doubt. To me, it always comes down to controlling the line of scrimmage. If we're able to control the line of scrimmage, therefore control, protect the run gaps. Everybody plays solid defense. We've been playing really good run defense, starting with Minnesota, holding Dalvin Cook. Like we said, one of the top running backs in the league, if not the top running back in the league. They don't have a Dalvin Cook. I don't think their line is better than Minnesota's. So with our defense, we've I think we put some really good pieces together with the two guys, the corner and Bates being out. It is going to make a difference. The thing we can't do is allow big plays, and a big play can happen on the run. We can play the run great. You can have 2 or 3 snaps where a guy over pursues, a guy doesn't, gets cut off on a point of attack, and our safety being, the last defense, is a new safety. Bates is not there, and that safety can come up and fill the wrong gap, and boom, that guy is out of there. So the thing is, not giving up big plays, definitely against the run, and playing the solid pass defense that we've played all season, and making Trevor Lawrence beat you, making Trevor Lawrence, throw a ball deep, making him, beat you with his arm, and make them one dimensional.
Yeah, I think the biggest matchup here is Jaguars left tackle Cam Robinson, who's nursing a shoulder injury. He will be taking on Trey Hendrickson. Trey Hendrickson is a guy the Bengals paid a lot for in the offseason.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, it looks like he's working out. 2.5
Mm-hmm.
sacks in 3 games after posting 13.5 in New Orleans last season. Lawrence has only been sacked 5 times in 3 games, so the offensive line hasn't been a huge issue. But 3 of those came against the Cardinals last week. They need to protect Lawrence. And I think Hendrickson against Robinson will give us a big key off of whether Trevor Lawrence can be successful throwing the ball.
Oh yeah, I think both are Henderson and Hubbard. Both of those guys have been playing lights out. They've been getting pressure on the quarterback. They've played solid, contained defense. They've played very well against all the offensive tackles that they played against thus far. So here, if these guys go in and their motor continues to run like it's been, Mike, I think it can be a long day, a long night for Trevor. I think that's a good matchup for us. I think that matchup favors us. I think with our defensive ends, with their speed, and they've shown really good technique. I've seen some really good pass moves. I've seen some up and unders. I've seen the Reggie White humps. I've seen some good stuff. And I can tell you, I can admit, I wasn't a huge Hendrickson fan. You had that beast down in New Orleans that was creating a lot of plays. But what I've seen so far, I think I've had to eat some of my words, because this guy has a good motor. This guy, you can tell he seems like he's a really good teammate, and he goes hard. He plays hard, and when you see a guy playing like that and creating havoc and making that quarterback move out of the pocket, it bodes well for the defense.
Yeah, and when you look at this game, who you picking, Joe? Because then we're going to talk a little bit about the festivities that'll go on tonight at Paul Brown Stadium, honoring the first Bengals Ring of Honor.
Right.
But I think this: when you look at the point spread of 7.5 points, if I was betting the game, I'd take the Jaguars and the points.
Yeah.
But I believe the Bengals will win the game.
I'm going to go with Bengals. Obviously, in this is definitely a game that we should win. I think it's going to be closer than Pittsburgh. I think with their cornerback out with Bates out.
Yeah, Woozy and Bates. Yeah,
Yeah, Bates is the quarterback of our team. So when you talk about losing a guy who's been impactful against the run, who's been impactful against the pass, and the leader, on that defense, I think that's a situation that we can possibly give up some big plays. I'm looking at this and knowing, and it's not one person that makes defense. Unless you're talking about LT or Reggie White, those guys are different. But when you talk about this, there's opportunities. I'm pretty certain Jacksonville is going to have opportunities for a big play, and that's because of new corner in there, new safety, motion, and guys are in the wrong place at the wrong time. The safety is not filling up. The safety is not back. So I think with our defense, I've seen us as well as we played. I've seen at times where guys are out of placement. And that's with Bates back there. So I'm saying right now, first game, this is definitely a game that if Jacksonville was going to have some opportunities to move the ball against the defense without Bates there, I think this is going to be an opportune time for them. But I can't see them making enough big plays to beat us with Joe Burrows and our the threats that we have. I don't know. Is T. Higgins playing tonight, Mike?
looks like he's not.
He's not. Okay. Well. I thought with him, I know we would make a lot more plays, but yeah, I'm still confident. I think Joe Mixon should have a good day. I think Boyd's going to have a good day, and I think Jamar can continue making some dynamic plays. So overall, I'm going with Bengal Nation tonight, but I'm looking at a game more like 24-21.
Yeah, I say 24-17 Bengals. Before the game tonight, there will be a commemoration of 40th anniversary to 1981 team's Super Bowl appearance. That'll be the pregame ceremony. At halftime, they'll honor the 4 inductees in the first Bengals Ring of Honor class. I still have a problem with this because I think it should be more than 4 people. They've waited so long.
Yeah, I agree. We had an event last night over at the rooftop and Residence Inn last night where a lot of members of the the first Super Bowl team was there, and there was a golf outing earlier yesterday with probably maybe about 20 guys. Isaac Curtis, a bunch of those guys came back. Max Montoya, Lewis Breed, and Reggie Williams. So a lot of those guys are in town. Eddie Edwards. Actually drove him home last night. Eddie Edwards was funny guy, man. So it's a good thing, like you said. Congratulations to the 4 inductees. And according to what the Bengals have said, they're going to have the fans nominate and vote for 2 guys each year. The fact that they're 50 years behind, I think they need to speed it up. So when you look at those guys, when I'm looking at Reggie Williams, when I'm looking at Isaac Curtis, Max Montoya, Lamar Parrish, Glenn Cameron was down there last night. When we look at some of these players, you're saying, okay, here, 2 guys each year. You're not going to be able to honor some of these guys while they're alive.
Yeah, you're going to be honoring their families instead of them, and they're going to miss out on it like they did with Ken Riley since they waited so long.
Yeah. So, unfortunately, that I would hope that they, can bump it up to, at least for the next, because they were so far behind, the next 10 years, 4 or 5 guys, 8 guys, like Hall of Fame, 7, 8 guys, for a year. And then you can trickle it down, because there's some guys, that to me have given their lives, given their souls to the Bengal organization, and they were great players, they were great pillars of the community, and I would hate to see those guys honored, after they die, but I know it's the Bengals organization, and hey, 4 people are enough, 2 are enough, because if I do more than 2, then maybe I'll have to spend some more money. They did bring some guys in, a couple guys in, but it's just it's Mike Brown, it's the Bengals, it's their way, it's their way or the highway. I don't think here, I loved the Bengals. I loved my coaching staff. I loved the players that I played with. But it's a Bengal organization, and me playing for 6 teams and being in 5 different environments, and those owners, some teams that I played for, other teams I played for, I think they value the player, and it's like, thank you, Joe Kelly, for giving me, you led the Raiders in '93. Thank you for your service to us. We appreciate you. And with the Bengals, Mike, it's no, I did you a favor.
Yeah.
So you should be thanking me for allowing you to be on my team. So you just understand that dichotomy, and that tells you the difference between the Bengals organization and other organizations.
Yeah, the one good thing is they did get it right if they're only going to take 4. The 3 players, I think all should be in the NFL Hall of Fame. Only one of them is an Anthony Munoz. Ken
Yeah.
Riley should be a no-brainer in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
I think he's still like 4th or 5th career interceptions.
Yes.
Kenny
Yeah.
Anderson, 4-time passing leader, NFL MVP, led the Bengals to the Super Bowl in Super Bowl 16. It's an absolute joke that Dan Fouts is there before Kenny Anderson, because when you look at their careers, it's not even comparable. Kenny Anderson was the first guy to consistently completed over 60% of his passes during seasons.
Mm-hmm.
He was a great quarterback. And I'll also say this: if you put him in Pittsburgh and put Terry Bradshaw here, Kenny Anderson's already in the Hall of Fame, and Terry Bradshaw's sitting there wondering what's going on. And I mean, it's just a damn shame. I mean, I think this, I don't even think Paul Brown should be in yet. I think you should have put Reggie Williams in first.
Yeah, well, what I feel of 57. 57 by far is the best linebacker in Bengal history. A guy that gave his heart, gave his soul to this team, and literally gave a leg to this team, and to do what he did, to come from an Ivy League school. It's just commendable. But it is here. I get it, honoring Paul Brown, but he's the owner. Okay, that's great. You really didn't even have to have him.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but his name is on the stadium.
Yes,
And he screwed this organization up, number 1, by having Mike Brown. Number 2, there are so many things that happened in this organization that weren't right when he was there. I don't know. I was friends. You remember Gary Jeter?
Yeah.
Okay, Gary, I remember talking to him. This would have probably been about 8 or 9 years ago. And he said, yeah, I remember when I was being drafted. He said, the thing I was most worried about was being picked by the Bengals. So I had my agent tell them, I don't want to come there. He said, because all the players got underpaid. They got screwed around. They weren't taken care of. But we're going to honor him before we honor Reggie Williams, Williams, even if he didn't play for the Bengals, could be in a Hall of Fame or a Ring of Honor for the city of Cincinnati for what he did for this city. Paul Brown could have hired Bill Walsh, but his ego had him not hire Bill Walsh. And then, of course, Bill Walsh beat our butts in the Super Bowl twice. So there are so many things here with Paul Brown. I know it was awesome that he brought a team here, but that's the extent of what he did. Reggie Williams was far more accomplished.
Yeah, and me being a player, I totally agree with you. I don't necessarily think that Paul had to be honored, because he's already honored. His name is on the stadium. He is the founding father of the Bengals. So that's something that You could have added him on any class, and you could have added another player, Reggie, to this original Ring of Honor induction. So it is what it is. Those guys are there. Kenny was there last night, so have an event today at 4. So this tells you the difference with the Bengal organization and other organizations. So here, the event last night was basically put on by the players from Louis Breeden, Steve Kreider, Tim Crumry, all these guys, Max. But it was put on by the players. So here, went rooftop, food and drinks and stuff like that, and had the golf outing. Now today's event, they did fly in a couple of guys from the 81 team, and they sent an email to us, even though the email invited the 88 Super Bowl team. But for today's ceremony, it's like, hey, you guys are welcome. The public is coming, this and that. And then at the bottom of the email, it says here, it only costs you $85 a ticket, plus just drinks and this. So I'm looking at it and I'm saying, I just went to a Raider alumni event. This wasn't a Ring of Honor. This was just a normal alumni event that they do every year. The first time I've gone to. And you're talking about they brought players in, put them up in a hotel for 3 days, breakfast, lunch, dinner, drinks, Raider gear. My wife she got more Raider gear stuff than I. And this is my first event. And I'm saying, wow, here. And they usually take the guys to Napa Valley. The Jets do it, Green Bay do it. So you have an event, but you want the player, majority of the players, because you really only paid for maybe 10 guys. And to come into an event to eat a buffet style, buffet style food.
Hey, my question is this: does it go to charity at least the $85, or do we even know where it goes?
I have no idea. Where it goes. But at the end of the day, it's $85. But it's not that. It's just I'm reading this and I just said, wow. That's the difference. With the Bengal organization and other organizations, and not that. Here, because people say, hey, man, well, you made money, they put you in this, and, you feel spoiled. No, it's it's the fact that, I think you can honor the guys who've given limbs, guys who have, we talked about talking to Max Montoya last night, and he has one artificial hip. He needs another artificial hip. I was talking to Tim Crumry, talking about the Super Bowl, the break. He had a knee replacement, and matter of fact, he said he went in and was talking about when he went in to get his knees looked at, and the doctors told him you need your knee, you need knee replacements, right? So he goes in, looks at it, and he says, okay, how much time I got, doc? They said, no, we're going to replace him in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning. It's a true story. And then he goes in, and there's this rod that's still in his leg that
Super Bowl
keeps
23
that tip fib together, and it's like a screw for the tip fib and that rod that is screwed into the artificial knee. So when you're talking about guys literally giving their limbs for this, that's what I'm talking about. And here, a guy like Crumry, he has to pay $85 to come into an event to honor players that we played with. So it's that, man. So I think that kind of sucks, but it is what it is.
Yeah, it more than kind of sucks, but it is also not surprising, which is the saddest part of all of it.
Yeah. And people, like you said, you talking about, Jeter, Gary Jeter, not wanting to be here and not being able historically to attract free agents. Hell, Mike, when I came out, 1986, being the 11th overall pick in the draft, I knew about the Bengals. I wasn't, my mindset was never, I didn't want to play, with them because of this. I was honored just to be in the NFL. I wanted to play. I was telling my agent, I don't want to hold out. I don't care. Here I'm not gonna be that guy because I don't want. You don't want the negative stigma around it. So come here, we're getting close to training camp, and I'm telling my agent, man, let's go. And he's like, okay, Joe, you want to sign this? Okay, here, this is what they're offering Louis Billups. in the second round, and this is what they're offering you. They're offering Lewis Billis more than they're offering you. And I'm like, what? No, that come on, man. Lewis is a second round pick. I'm a first round pick. So he's like, here, Lewis, and Lewis had just signed. He said, this is what Lewis got. This is the same thing. This is the identical contract they're offering you. I had a bigger, they were offering me a bigger signing bonus, but the money was exactly the same. And I was like, okay, what is, because I was between Keith Byers and Chuck Long. Keith went right before me 10. I think Chuck went right after me. Then I was looking at, linebackers, what they get. I mean, I was getting offered less than the last player in the first round, and less than the first 4 or 5 players in the second round. So it was that, and they held to that until the last preseason game. So I missed all the training camp. I signed the last day, so it's kind of like it sucks. And when we talk about the Bengal organization, it wasn't just me. It was over and over.
Well, if you remember, Steve Young didn't want to come here. Ricky Hundley, the Bengals drafted, ended up having to trade to Denver because they couldn't sign him.
Yeah, and like you said, it wasn't, guys weren't asking for the brink truck. You're asking for what was the average. Hell, after my first contract, I did my second contract myself. So I was negotiating with Mike, and I went in there and asked for what the average starting fifth-year player linebacker was making. It was a lot less than majority of linebackers. So you go in there with your numbers. Here, this is what the average starter makes. This was the average inside linebacker makes. This is the average of fifth-year vet makes, so on and so forth. Never was above. He tried to stay right there. And even that contract that I signed was the most for a linebacker that at that current time. And hell, they asked me to buy a house. I bought a house, and the day I first day I went to practice, I was moving in the house, and they traded me in the contract. So it was like, that's, it's bingo history, bingo lore. People know about the Bengals, and the sad part of it, Mike doesn't give a damn.
No.
Mike Brown, he doesn't care what you think, and this is how.
And neither did Paul. So
it is what it is, man. So, that's why I give kudos to Bingo Nation and us stubborn guys, sticking around, and you look at the players and you want the players to go out there and compete. You're in the city, and you want the city to do well, because when the sports organizations do well, the city, the vibe in the city is just crazy. We lived in '88. Everywhere you went, and then you had the go to '89 Super Bowl, and then you had the Reds winning the '90 World Series. There wasn't a better sports city to be in. So it's
not that way since, Joe.
I know, and it sucks. That the city and the people that wasn't around really don't know what that feels like, man. That feeling is just awesome. I'm not going to say here we have the pieces. But we have some of the pieces. I'm not sure if this is a Super Bowl type coaching staff, but I think we have the right mix of players, and obviously we need a couple more here and there. But I don't think that we're that far off.
All right, Joe. So tonight, I'm sure you'll be at the game. Bengals Jaguars. I think it starts like 8:15 or 8:20. We'll be back next week to talk about that game, to talk to the games coming up. And if this is going to be a season where the Bengals can do anything, this game's a must-win tonight. You can't lose this on Thursday night at home.
Yeah, you have, like we said, you have to win the games that you're expected to win. You're expected to win this game. And the evening game hex that the Bengals have, can't run in prime time, still kind of hangs over our heads, and this is it would be an awful moment for the team to go and look back and see the momentum that we have, and to look back on this, to play in a Jacksonville team that is very beatable, and you come out and you stink up your home field and give away a game like this. So hopefully these guys can steadfast and stay steadfast and continue doing the work, continue flying around on defense, continue protecting Joe. And you protect Joe. Joe is he's gonna find spots. You know, our players gonna make plays, and D line is gonna rush the passer, man, and it's gonna work out well for us.
All right, Joe, we're going to wrap it up then. You can follow me at Grueling Truth. Make sure you check out betting.net. But for now, for Joe Kelly, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been watching and listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.